Good morning. Yes, I remembered to light the candles this morning, and it's another 111 video entitled Ignorance Leads to Artificial Constructs That Produce Tyranny. When a sentient being fails to see the essence of matter, which is the Creator's expression of love, other explanations are sought. Unfortunately, these explanations are generally not based on the truth, but rather on lies. When we build on a foundation of lies, we create artificial constructs. This is due to the fact that we have ignored or negated our own quintessential essence. These constructs will never be sustainable, since they themselves create a perpetual war within and without. Because the essence has been rejected, fear replaces the natural love Creator has for creation. Fear is ignorance. Look at our world. Look at what fear has created. It's not pretty, but if we wake up, it can be beautiful. This is true only if we allow 555 to overcome 666. Not very long ago, I watched one of many videos that showed something that we wouldn't think of as natural. And yet, as I watched this kind of video, I realized just how natural it actually is. For indeed, it does express the Creator's love of creation. Apparently, a mother squirrel was killed, and a cat nursed the baby squirrels. You got that right. This was an expression of Creator's love of creation. It was an expression of the quintessential essence that exists within all creation when we don't negate, ignore, or reject our own essence, the love that we are. I also watched a video. I thought I had shared it as my video of the week, but I guess it's the one that I've planned for the next video of the week because it's not up there right now. And I checked on a couple of different browsers. In any case, it's about a Brazilian CEO who realized the fragility of life and began asking himself, what's this about? And he totally reordered the way he ran his company, which is a highly successful company. He gave up the idea of building an artificial construct in which he was the boss and everyone else was the peon, the slave that had to do his bidding, because after all, he was the authority. That's how we as humans have been raised. That's the built-in psychopathy of our own experience on life. The psychopathy that pits this against that, us against them, and ignores the essence of creation. Creation is beautiful. But when we put fear in charge, it doesn't remain beautiful. Distortions begin to happen everywhere we look. Artificial constructs like corporations, which is a legal fiction, begin to take over everywhere and everything, creating the tyranny of the elite versus the non-elite. And that conflict between the haves and the have-nots permeates the entire culture, so that the people that are the have-nots lust after that which the haves have, and they want it, and that's called greed, but it's psychopathy. This is the distortion that is created when we fail to move from our own essence, when we fail to see and perceive our own essence. And we are capable of perceiving it even with our five senses, even though we have been dumbed down and limited. Every baby knows love and requires love, or it doesn't survive. That's true in all mammals and includes human beings. The infant requires touching, nurturing, being fed until it's able to feed itself, being taught, being shown by example. It's built in to the natural order of things. But we, because of artificial constructs produced by fear, produced tyranny, instead inverting everything, so that those that are supposed to be in charge of justice subvert justice because they think it's about authority. It's not about authority. It's about serving the creation. Love serves creation. Forget God. Love is about serving that which is around you, about nurturing it, about building it up, about edifying it. It's not about ownership. It's not about competition. It's about cooperation. We don't even have to look very far. Even in small groups, we can see the distortions take place. When one person claims, that's mine, you're treading on my territory, and not understanding that love is not about ownership. It's about sharing. It's about caring. It's about compassion. It's about building the other person up instead of attacking them. So many of us don't get that. Even when it's displayed in our very midst, we don't see it because we're so used to the distortion that we miss the 555. I wonder sometimes even how many of the elite that I think are getting it really are getting it. 555 can only overcome the beast that we have artificially created. It can only overcome that when the elite are willing, as that CEO did, to serve those that are under it. And under is figurative. Under can be the canopy of protection. It does not have to be the display of authority. We've got to see this, folks. We've got to get this in our heart. This is the awakening. We're not going to change the world till we deal with the essence of who we are and the essence of how we have created the world that we live in. We're not going to fix it by throwing money at it. We're not going to fix it by making superficial changes and substituting Pepsi for Coke, or Diet Coke for regular Coke, or any other substitution that is superficial in nature. We have to get to the essence, to the root of the issues that we face. And it includes all of us. Love is inclusive. It does not exclude, it includes. And it has to be patient and long-suffering, because it's so hard for us as humans who have been programmed and trained and had demonstrated before us the wrong way to do things for so long that it almost looks like that's our nature. But our nature is not to fear. Our nature is to love. And there are examples of this if we look for them. There are examples in our society, in our culture, of animals and even of people who are not just nice because it's going to get them something, but because that is the nature that is being superimposed over the false nature till it actually replaces the false nature. It's like the old man putting on the new man, and it's not just a garment, it is a transformation that takes place from the inside out, from the heart to the head, and from the head to the world, so that the self makes an alliance with the ego, so that all of the polarities are unified, and we no longer dual. We no longer go into the polarization of dualism, which is the opposite of unity. Duality is unity being expressed with a potential. The potential of if we wake up and see that we came from love. That ultimately, at the very beginning, before any of the jinn or extraterrestrials or any of the other beings from somewhere else began to mess with creation, before any of these so-called dark entities began to mess with anything, in the very beginning, there was love. There was love. Look what I've made for you. Look what I've made for you. It's all yours. What are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with it? Did we make the wrong choice by choosing knowledge, by experience, knowing Adam knew his wife Eve and she conceived and bare a son? Knowledge. Is knowledge the enemy? It can be. Like any other construct, like any other experience, it depends on how we frame it. It depends on how we use it. Everything in creation has utilitarian value. It depends on how we choose to use it. Money can be the greatest curse ever created. It could also be the greatest blessing ever created. How are we going to use it? Are we going to see it as ours, and we only use it to control others, to manipulate, to imprison and enslave? That's how it's been used, which is why love of money is the root of all evil. But suppose we looked at it as simply a tool that we could just as easily use to bless creation with, instead of curse creation with. You see, we have these deep-seated things that lie within our consciousness, which is why the ego oftentimes edges God out, because God is love. Doesn't want to acknowledge that. So it creates tyranny. It creates the tyranny of control, which is an illusion, because you don't really control anyone else. No one's thoughts can be totally controlled, although we've probably come pretty close in some instances. But I saw the story of Kathy O'Brien, who was seemingly totally brainwashed by the controllers that programmed her in MK Ultra. But she was redeemed. She was liberated. She woke up. She was able to be healed and to become whole and to find the holiness within her, the wholeness within her, the love expressed through Mark Phillips, who had to be extremely patient with her as she learned how to see the world with fresh eyes. And we all need to learn to see the world with fresh eyes, or we're going to destroy the very world that sustains our existence. We're going to destroy that which has been beautiful. We're already in the process of destruction, but another process is going on simultaneously. It is a process of awakening. And so the war on ignorance is appropriate. That's what spiritual warriors need to do. They need to point out what we have constructed, the artificial constructs, the GMOs, the chemtrails, the fracking, the, the abuse of nature, the abuse of power. We can take power and use it for good if we are willing to stop competing and start cooperating. Do we have the will in us to do that? Do we have the will to transform our own perception of reality so that we see the good and not the evil? So that we see the potential and not the history? What lies ahead for us? What's in our future? I can't predict how we're going to go because I don't know. I know because I spend time in meditation listening to God within me, and I hear the message. And it's hard for me to get it sometimes, as I said in the other video. But we have to get it, don't we? Don't we have to finally wake up and get our house in order and get back to the essence, the love that we all are, and learn to stop fighting each other, stop competing, stop threatening. These are all psychopathic in nature. They are all destructive. They are all non-sustainable. We have a choice. 555, the quintessential essence of the heart. When the heart is in charge, we can create beauty. When the heart is overlooked, ignored, and rejected, ugliness is the natural result. What are we going to do? It's up to you and me. Thank you for listening. Namaste.